Vampire movies have just never been my thing. I don't know, over time, films starring vampires have not sucked me in, no pun intended. We've had some kooky vampire movies, as well as a few that are unintentionally bad, and then a handful of meh entries. Since the beginning, I felt vampires have been misused in cinema. Nobody seemed to have cracked the formula that is the vampire shtick. And the amazing ones, well, they're very old. Case in point, there isn't a great modern day vampire movie. However, 2024 might have broken that curse in the form of Abigail. Beforehand, I thought I knew what would be coming, and to a certain degree, I was right. But compared to other vampire movies I've seen from the last 30 years, Abigail gets vampires right by treating them exactly like what they are. Ferocious, bloodthirsty animals. This is not your run-of-the-mill slasher film though, where a vampire befriends people and sets up their eventual death trap. Instead, Abigail takes a group of criminals, throws them into a game of cat and mouse, and it's survival of the fittest from there, with a couple of twists along the way. Let's begin by talking about how Abigail, for once, makes vampires look scary. If you had to think of the last vampire movie you've seen that's generally good and scary, what comes to mind? Maybe Nosferatu, which came out in 1922. I'm not a math guy or anything, but that's 102 years. Sure, you may be able to point out others with occasional scares, but nothing comes to mind that ignites a true fear of vampires. Meanwhile, Abigail changed that. You see this innocent little girl who seemingly doesn't have an evil bone in her body. Next thing you know, her face changes to a demonic look. She's intimidating, fierce, and nearly unstoppable. Call me crazy, but this 12-year-old ballerina chick could hold her own with just about any movie villain out there. Fear is never something I think of in a conversation about vampire movies, but she terrified me. I got home and became paranoid that she may be lurking in my bedroom. No other vampire movie has instilled fear quite like that before, so now you can add vampires to the list of things I'm afraid of. It helps that the movie doesn't sparingly use blood. Abigail is very liberal when it comes to blood use. This will go down as 2024's bloodiest movie until the release of Terrifier 3, and I love that. It doesn't hold back. The movie didn't receive a PG-13 rating in fear of bombing at the box office. Sadly, it bombed anyway. But this is a vampire movie. Vampires drink blood. They sometimes may even eat human flesh. Make it bloody, you know? My goodness, did they deliver from that standpoint. Talk about a gore fest. If you're someone who gets woozy at the sight of blood, Abigail is not the movie for you. But horror fans, this movie is a feast for your eyes. Oh, and let's not forget about this child performance. Because of the poor box office result, Alicia Weir's performance as Abigail will go down as one of the most overlooked child performances of all time, which is truly a shame because this little girl is so talented. I'm sure she'll get multiple big roles in the future, but we can't not talk about how good she is in this film. I think she's around 13 or 14 in real life filming here, but it comes off like she's in her 30s. So props to Alicia for putting on one hell of a show. The rest of the cast is a good mix of characters too. Angus Cloud, R.I.P. Would have loved to see him in more films playing a stoner role. Kevin Durand is great as this goofy meathead, a very likable guy you grow towards. Melissa Barrera is always good too. She was the perfect casting choice as someone who has criminal tendencies, but also has a heart deep down. I like the balance between her and these other pieces of shit. And Dan Stevens, man, such an underrated, underutilized actor. I can't remember the last time I liked him this much in a movie role, but we really need more of him, and more of him in big movies. Guy has it all, just cast him. In summary, from start to finish, Abigail is everything for fans of horror. If you like vampires, this is the film for you. As someone who's found vampire movies quite boring over the years, I can guarantee you Abigail is not that. It's very different from what I typically expect a vampire movie to roll out. It's actually scary, there's plenty of fun to it with the aid of some unexpected twists. I love the cast and performances. If you're a big fan of blood and horror movies, this will be like opening presents on Christmas Day as a kid. Abigail just works in many different ways. It kept my attention mention, I was never bored in comparison to other vampire flicks. It's just a blast at the movie theaters, and I hope it does better when it moves to streaming because it deserves more eyes. Maybe 2024 will open a new door to the vampire genre. Robert Eggers' Nosferatu remake comes out in December, so I'm thinking we'll go 2 for 2 with vampires this year. One could only hope. Anyway, have you seen Abigail? If so, what are your thoughts? And how do you feel about vampire movies as a whole? Let me know in the comments. And as always, thank you all so much for watching this video. I will see you next time.